To effectively work with data sources, it's important to understand the data model that exists. And so for this, I'm actually going to click the Close and Apply button in the top left corner of my Power Query to return to my Power BI desktop. Of course, it'll want to reconnect and it'll want to reevaluate and reload and refresh the data. So I'll give it a moment to do so. Once it's finished evaluating all my data, I can click this button on the left-hand side, this one here, which is my model. That will take me into the model part of my Power BI. What I have here now are all the tables, and I can close things down a little bit just so I can see more. The whole idea is that the data resides in various tables, and you can move these tables around and actually see what's going on with the data. I could either minus a little bit so I see more on my screen. These tables can be dragged and the relationships between these tables can also be seen. If there are too many tables, it might be quite hard to see all the tables at once. There is a button in the bottom right corner where you can ask it to fit to screen, but as you can see, there's a lot of tables in this actual data model. So I'm going to go down below here and hit this plus to create a new layout. And it's a layout that I want to create just with certain tables that are of value to me. So for example, I'd like to add categories, so I drag that and I drop that. I also want to add customers, employees, order details, orders, products, and I'll just stop there for a second. So I'm going to put the products over here and I'm going to put the orders over here. I might minus it a little bit so I can see a bit more on the screen. I'll put the employees down here and just move them around a little bit just so I can organize. So one category, for example, here has many products, so it might be the category beverages. And so one category called beverages has many products. Now one product can be a part of many order details, and one order can have many details. So that's that relationship. One customer can actually place many orders, and one employee can be responsible for looking after many orders. Now let's bring shippers into the mix. One shipper can also ship out many orders and bring suppliers in. One supplier supplies many products. So the data model allows you to show various tables and arrange them and organize them. You can zoom in and zoom out. And then when I rest on a table like, if I rest on a line actually, like this line here, I can see that these two tables, orders and customers, are related by the customer ID field because the customer ID goes grey in both of those tables. When I rest on this line, it tells me that the employee ID is the field that links these two tables. And when I rest on this one, it tells me shipper ID, and let me just stretch this table. Shipper ID and ship via are the links between those two tables. Whereas over here, if I rest on this, this tells me supplier ID, and let me just stretch this table. Supplier ID to supplier ID, and when I rest on this relationship, product ID to product ID, and when I rest on this relationship, category ID to category ID. So the relationships can be seen when you rest on the line, and it's the relationships that show a one to many. So one customer can place many orders, and many is the star. One employee handles many orders. One shipper ships out many orders. One order can have many details, and one product can be a part of many orders. One supplier supplies many products, and one category can have many products in it. So that's the relationships that exist. You can also click the Manage Relationships button if you actually want to investigate the relationships in a lot more structured detail. So immediately I can see here order details is related to orders by the order ID field, and orders are related to customers by the customer ID field. So you can delete relationships, edit them in order to detect them in here. You can also just right click or even actually just delete using the delete key a relationship between two tables. If a relationship becomes broken, let me just break this one for instance, delete, remove from diagram, and I want to bring that back, that was the suppliers, Sorry, I was on the wrong thing. If I break this relationship here, delete, and you want to delete the relationship, okay. If I then want to recreate the relationship between employees and orders, I simply drag employee ID from the employee table, which is there, to the employee ID in the orders table. And that automatically will recreate the relationship between those two tables. I can also rest on these little buttons, and I've got options here such as, delete it from the model that is the table, hide it, collapse, expand, collapse all, and expand all. So there's various options as well. And you can create as many layouts to reflect what's going on with your data as you wish.